Vishnu is there. Vishnu is therefore known as Padmanabha. Brahma is known as Atma Bhuva, because he was begotten directly from the father without any contact of Mother Lakshmi ji. Lakshmi ji was present near Narayana, engaged in the service of the Lord, and still without contact with Lakshmi ji, Narayana begot Brahma. This is the omnipotency of the Lord. One who foolishly considers Narayana like other living beings should take a lesson from this. Narayana is not an ordinary living being. He is the personality of Godhead himself, and he has all the potencies of all the senses in all parts of his transcendental body. An ordinary living being begets a child by sexual intercourse, and he has no other means to beget a child other than the one designed for him. But Narayana, being omnipotent, is not bound to any condition of energy. He is complete and independent to do anything and everything by his various potencies very easily and perfectly. Brahma is therefore directly the son of the father and was not put into the womb of a mother. Therefore, he is known as Atma Bhuva. This Brahma is in charge of further creations in the universe, secondarily reflected by the potency of the omnipotent. Within the halo of the universe, there is a transcendental planet known as Shvetadvipa, which is the abode of Kshirodayi Vishnu, the Paramatma feature of the Supreme Lord. Whenever there is trouble in the universe that cannot be solved by the administrative demigods, they approach Brahmaji for a solution. And if it is not to be solved even by Brahmaji, then Brahmaji consults and prays to the Kshirodakshayi Vishnu for an incarnation and solution to the problems. Such a problem arose when Kamsa and others were ruling over the earth, and the earth became too much overburdened by the misdeeds of the Asuras. Brahmaji, along with other demigods, prayed at the shore of the Kshirodayi ocean, and they were advised of their descent of Krishna as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. So some people say that the Lord appeared because of the prayers of Brahmaji.
Haribol. So the context of these slokas is Kunti Maharani is talking about Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and giving examples of how he is the omnipresent Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because some people think Krishna is an ordinary person, right? You know, people here in Dwaraka and even some in the Kauravas, they think he's just like an ordinary person, just like me and you. But Queen Kunti is giving a lot of examples of why he is not an ordinary person among themselves, even though he is present, that he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. And she's giving examples of how Brahmaji is born from his Nabhi, right? And how there is the, Bodhakasai Vishnu and Chirodakasai Vishnu, and how they are, related to us, right? For example, Brahma is Atmabhu. He came from the navel and the lotus flower, and is given the orders of being secondary creation. And whenever in the material world there are turbulences, it is asked for the demigods to solve. I mean, if they're not able to solve, they go to Brahma, and Brahma along with them, they all go to Kshirodaksha. That's what is shown in the movies, right? They all go to this Palakadali, and people, pray to the, Lord Narayana, who is like nicely sleeping on Anantashesh. That's where they pray, and Lord Narayana assures them that, okay, don't worry, Krishna or some other avatar will come and help you, and that's what is told in this sloka. Let's go to the next sloka. Chandrika Mataji, you can read 35.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Text 35, translation. And yet others say that you appear to rejuvenate the devotional service of hearing, remembering, worshipping, and so on, in order that the conditioned souls suffering from material pangs might take advantage and gain liberation. Purport. In the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the Lord asserts that he appears in every millennium just to re-establish the way of religion. The way of religion is made by the Supreme Lord. No one can manufacture a new path of religion, as is fashion for certain ambitious persons. The factual way of religion is to accept the Lord as the supreme authority and thus render service unto him in a spontaneous love. A living being cannot help but render service because he is constitutionally made for that purpose. The only function of the living being is to render service to the Lord. The Lord is great, and living beings are subordinate to him. Therefore, the duty of the living beings is just to serve him only. Unfortunately, the illusion living beings, out of misunderstanding only, become servants of the senses by material desire. This desire is called avidya or nescience. And out of such desire, the living being makes different plans for material enjoyment centered about a perverted sex life. He therefore becomes entangled in the chain of birth and death by transmigrating into different bodies on different planets under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Unless, therefore, one is beyond the boundary of this nescience, one cannot get free from the threefold miseries of material life. That is the law of nature. The Lord, however, out of his causeless mercy, because he is more merciful to the suffering living beings than they can expect, appears before them and renovates the principles of devotional service comprised of hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping, praying, cooperating, and surrendering unto him. Adoption of all the above mentioned items, or any one of them, can help a conditioned soul get out of the tangle of nescience and thus become liberated from all material sufferings created by the living being illusioned by the external energy. This particular type of mercy is bestowed upon the living beings by the Lord in the form of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Haribol. So basically in this sloka, Srimati Kunti Rani is saying, you appear to the devotees in helping them re-establish the way of religion. In Bhagavad Gita it is told, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyudhanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. So basically, whenever there is the decline in dharma, and what is dharma? Whatever Lord Krishna has established, that is dharma. He knows what is the right dharma, and nobody else can manufacture the dharma. That is, that is the dharma means, right? The factual way of religion is to accept the Lord as supreme authority and thus render his service unto him in spontaneous love. And the nature of living beings is naturally to serve somebody. Our nature is to serve somebody. Either you serve God or you serve the dog. It doesn't matter. But we should choose to serve the God because our nature is to serve. Servitude is a nature. And understanding that we are in the material nature and anything that we do is bound by the karma bandhana, and to get liberated out of this cycle, serve God and get released ourselves from this cycle is what is being told in this sloka. And also this is same thing is been explained by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he descended in this Kali Yuga. Let's go to test 36. And yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Mataji.
Is it not ridiculous that Hiranyakashipu, who did Lord Brahma to get a boon, who did tapasya, but he is totally against Lord Vishnu.
Which one, Mataji? Your audio was breaking. Can you tell again? I didn't get the first part.
Is it not ridiculous that Hiranyakashipu, who did tapasya to please Lord Brahma and to gain the boons?
Yes.
Boons he wants to have. And he is totally against the Lord Vishnu, and it is Lord Vishnu from the umbilicus of whom Lord Brahma has taken birth, and it is Lord Vishnu only who gives powers to Brahma.
Yes, yes.
These things.
Yes, Mataji. So when Lord Krishna or Narayana gives, so when he creates the whole primary creation, he creates and then secondary creation, he does create all the positions called these demigods, right? And he gives individual responsibilities and also powers to them. Like all the demigods have some powers, Mataji, because without powers they cannot do their duty. And there are some powers given to them, not 100% powers. Some powers can be given to them, and that is one of the powers that Lord Brahma and other people have. Like whoever you pray to, they will give whatever in their jurisdiction. So Lord Brahma can give some kind of powers. It's like the same thing, Mataji. It's like your organization, company, where there is CEO, there is HR department, there is a general manager who works for CEO, and there is a group engineering manager who works for the general manager. Even though the ultimate authority is the CEO, each of them has their own little powers, right? Like, for example, I can go and get a bill approved by general manager, or he can give me something that is lesser than what the what the CEO has. Each of them have their own portfolios and a little bit powers, and their responsibility given by Krishna is, the moment you please them, they give you some boon. They will appear and they will give you some boon because of the austerities. So that is their minimal, that is their responsibility. They come and they give you some boon, but they cannot give you immortality. So they give you something and go. And that is what happened in this and other cases as well.
So I think if I
No,
understand
actually,
that there is another part to Lakshmi Mataji's question, that is, Hiranyakashipu, who is a fool. He is taking the shelter of someone who is already under the shelter of the person he's up against.
and
right?
to whom he is totally antagonistic.
Yeah.
but
The
he-
reason is,
but he doesn't know.
here comes the envy. So Hiranyakashipu's basic character is he's very envious of Narayana. Whoever is very envious of Narayana, in the entire history of all the demons who have prayed to Brahma and Shiva and gotten all these benedictions,
Boons.
right? Bhasmasura got a very silly thing that he can place the hand on the head of anyone and that person becomes ashes, right? Turn into ashes. And he tried, after that went and tried to do it on Lord Shiva himself. So Lakshmi Mataji, you should understand the nature of the devotion of these demons.
Yeah.
Okay, there is a lot of transaction going on here. First of all, even to the people they are praying to, they are not unconditional or unmotivated. There is a lot of expectation and there is a lot of transactional devotion that is going on. There is no guarantee that they will not use that benediction against the very same person who gave them also. Okay, that's look at their ability to be devoted to someone. They're incapable of being devoted to anyone unconditionally. Number one. Number two, all of them are very envious of Lord Narayana. Only thing they know is that Narayana is the supreme and everybody is worshipping him, and that's why they want to replace him.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yeah. Actually, I was appreciating the ajnana, the extent of ajnana Hiranyakashipu has.
Yeah, in a sarcastic manner. Yes, he's a fool. The kind of insurance policy he got.
Actually, the question what I got into my mind was, didn't he know of these things? That I'm praying Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma is already, he didn't know.
No, Lakshmi Mataji, envy doesn't work like that.
Envy doesn't allow him to
Even if
realize.
you know that the person is, say, let's take up a very simple example. In, say, growing up in school, somebody was always getting more marks than us. What does it simply mean? That simply means that other person is smarter than us and more intelligent than us and doing more hard work than us. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's possible to take over them. Sometimes it is impossible. It's not.
Yeah.
Some people are born with a lot more intelligence than us. Don't we know that? Still, are we not envious of them?
Yeah.
So that's it. Knowing or not knowing is secondary. This guy is a demonic guy and he has a wish to get. That's why he's performing all those austerities for Brahma. And he's envious of Lord Krishna. These are the two things that we should remember. But the question is a very valid question. Very valid.
Yeah, that is why ajnana is compared to timira.
Yeah, it's like darkness.
Darkness.
Yeah.
It doesn't allow the person to perceive the actual real truth.
And admit the truth also. Sometimes maybe they know the truth, but they don't want to admit it.
Yes, Mataji. Mataji, you can continue with 36. You are the next one.
Translation. O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant and repeat your transcendental activities. Is it over, Prabhuji?
Mataji, no. Oh, it's over.
Translation is over.
Should we present conditional vision? No, Mataji, we have to read this only.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
O
36.
Krishna,
Hmm.
those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death.
That's good.
Purport. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna cannot be seen by our present conditional vision. In order to see him, one has to change the present vision by developing a different condition of life full of spontaneous love of Godhead. When Sri Krishna was personally present on the face of the globe, not everyone could see him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Materialists like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, Jarasandha, and Shishupala were highly qualified personalities by acquisition of material assets, but they were unable to appreciate the presence of the Lord. Therefore, even though the Lord may be present before our eyes, it is not possible to see him unless we have the necessary vision. This necessary qualification is developed by the process of devotional service only, beginning with hearing about the Lord from the right sources. The Bhagavad Gita is one of the popular literatures which are generally heard, chanted, repeated, etc. by the people in general. But in spite of such hearing, etc., sometimes it is experienced that the performer of such devotional service does not see the Lord face to face. The reason is that the first item, Shravana, is very important. Can you make it a little up? Prabhuji?
Yes.
Is very important. If such hearing is from the right sources, it acts very quickly. Generally, people hear from unauthorized persons. Such unauthorized person may be very learned by academic qualifications, but because they do not follow the principles of devotional service, hearing from them becomes a sheer waste of time. Sometimes the texts are interpreted fashionably to suit their own purposes. Therefore, first one should select a competent and bona fide speaker and then hear from him. When the hearing process is perfect and complete, the other processes become automatically perfect in their own way. There are different transcendental activities of the Lord, and each and every one of them is competent to bestow the desired result, provided the hearing process is perfect. In Bhagavatam, the activities of the Lord begin from his dealings with the Pandavas. There are many other pastimes of the Lord in connection with his dealings with the Asuras and others. And in the 10th canto, the sublime dealings with his conjugal associates, the gopis, as well as with his married wives at Dwarka are mentioned. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no difference in the transcendental nature of each and every dealing of the Lord. But sometimes people in an unauthorized hearing process take more interest in a little up,
Mataji.
in hearing about his dealings with the gopis. Such an inclination indicates the lusty feelings of the hearer. So a bona fide speaker of the dealings of the Lord never indulges in such hearings. One must hear about the Lord from the very beginning, as in the Srimad Bhagavatam or any other scriptures, and that will help the hearer attain perfection by progressive development. One should not therefore consider that his dealings with the Pandavas are less important than his dealings with the gopis. We must always remember that the Lord is always transcendental to all mundane attachment. In all the above mentioned dealings of the Lord, he is the hero in all circumstances, and hearing about him or about his devotees or combatants is conducive to spiritual life. It is said that the Vedas and Puranas, etc., are all made to revive our lost relation with him. Hearing of all these scriptures is essential.
Haribol. So in this shloka, Kunti Maharani is saying, O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop repetition but and death. So, Kunti Maharani is saying, there are a lot of envious people like Kamsa, Jarasandha, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, right? Even if you are there among them as a person, they never saw you as Supreme Personality of Godhead. They're always envious of you, and then they try to, they try to be, proud of their materialistic, assets. But the way to go near you and then the necessary qualifications of attaining you is bhakti only, serving you only, and then hearing from the right sources. So basically, Gopal's purport is specifying why it is important to hear from the right authorities and why it's important to read Bhagavatam from the first canto. Some people typically, like when they do this Bhagavata Saptahas or some Bhagavad Kathas, directly go to 10th canto, and Prabhupada directly denies that. Right? You need elevated consciousness to understand the dealings of Krishna with gopis, gopas, and having 16,000 wives and everything. It is not an ordinary thing, and understanding is very important. Any misunderstanding and not having knowledge or mundane interpretations of these dealings is very, very dangerous. So we should not go there. We should always take the help of the proper bona fide acharyas and interpretations, and slowly do our journey from the beginning to the 10th canto. Let's go to text 37.
Astonishingly, the very mention about Hiranyakashipu has come, Prabhuji.
Yes, that's what I was thinking, right? All the people, just we discussed about it. So yes, everything is Prabhupada's in purports. Yes, let's go to 37. 37, Kumari Mataji, you can read.
Yes, Prabhuji. O my Lord, you have executed all duties yourself. Are you leaving us today? Though we are completely dependent on your mercy and have no one else to protect us, now when all the kings are at enmity with us.
So she's asking, why are you going? Okay, go ahead.
The Pandavas are most fortunate because with all good luck, they were entirely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. In the material world, to be dependent on the mercy of someone else is the utmost sign of misfortune. But in the case of our transcendental relation with the Lord, it is the most fortunate case when we live completely dependent on Him. The material disease is due to thinking of becoming independent of everything. But the cruel material nature does not allow us to become independent. The false attempt to become independent of the stringent laws of nature is known as material advancement of experimental knowledge. The whole material world is moving on this false attempt of becoming independent of the laws of nature. Beginning from Ravana, who wanted to prepare a direct staircase to the planets of heaven, down to the present age, they are trying to overcome the laws of nature. They are trying now to approach distant planetary systems by electronic mechanical power. But the highest goal of human civilization is to work hard under the guidance of the Lord and become completely dependent on Him. The highest achievement of perfect civilization is to work with valor, but at the same time depend completely on the Lord. The Pandavas were the ideal executors of this standard of civilization. Undoubtedly, they were completely dependent on the good will of the Lord Krishna, but they were not ideal parasites of the Lord. They were all highly qualified, both by personal character and by physical activities. Still, they always looked for the mercy of the Lord because they knew that every living being is dependent by constitutional position. The perfection of life is, therefore, to become dependent on the will of the Lord instead of becoming falsely independent in the material world. Those who try to become falsely independent of the Lord are called anadha, or without any guardian, whereas those who are completely dependent on the will of the Lord are called sanadha, or those having someone to protect them. Therefore, we must try to be Sanatha so that we can always be protected from the unfavorable condition of material existence. By the deluding power of the external material nature, we forget that the material condition of life is the most undesirable perplexity. The Bhagavad Gita therefore directs us that after many births, one fortunate person becomes aware of the fact that Vasudeva is all in all, that is all in all, and that the best way of leading one's life is to surrender unto him completely. That is the sign of Mahatma. All the members of the Pandava family were Mahatmas in household life. Maharaja Yudhishthira was the head of these Mahatmas. And Queen Kuntidevi was the mother. The lessons of the Bhagavad Gita and all the Puranas, specifically the Bhagavata Purana, are therefore inevitably connected with the history of the Pandava Mahatmas. For them, separation from the Lord was just like the separation of a fish from water. Srimati Kunti Devi therefore felt such separation like a thunderbolt, and the whole prayer of the queen is to try to persuade the Lord to stay with them. After the battle of Kurukshetra, although the inimical kings were killed, their sons and grandsons were still there to deal with the Pandavas. It is not only the Pandavas who were put into the condition of enmity, but all of us are always in such a condition. And the best way of living is to become completely dependent on the will of the Lord and thereby overcome all difficulties of material existence.
Hari bol, Hari bol. So in this purport, in this loka, right, Kunti Devi is asking, you have executed all duties and then now you're leaving, and though we are completely dependent on your mercy, there is no one to protect us. She's still saying that, she's giving all arguments to Krishna so that he stays back, right? You said you are with us until now because the battle is over. But Krishna, there are more enemies, more people, their sons and grandsons are there. So they're enemies to us. Please stay with us. So the point here she's making is please stay with us. Like don't go away. And Prabhupada's purport very nicely explains how in a materialistic world we think we are the independent owners of things and independently executing things, right? Which is, people think in the material world, depending on somebody's misfortune, right? You are not standing on your legs and then you are depending on somebody's mercy, right? People think that is a misfortune. But in spiritual world, depending on God is the ultimate benediction, right? And the ultimate fortunate thing that anybody can have. Thinking about the Lord all the time and depending on Him for everything is the most, most beneficial thing to us, and the benediction that we are getting, right? Right. Like for example, here Prabhupada is giving an example of Ravana trying to build a staircase to heavens, and he wanted to direct staircase to heaven, thinking that he is the, he is the enjoyer, he is the proprietor of everything. Similarly, Prabhupada is explaining how we are trying to go to other planets using mechanical power. And he writes in his journey to other planets, right? There is no need to really spend lots and lots of money going to other planets. Just by, doing our proper deeds, right? You can go to other planets, right? As you know, if you do pious activities, different pious activities, there are ways to go to higher planets. But Prabhupada at the same time says, don't worry about doing that. Don't worry or don't endeavor, going to other planets, higher planets, because you always come back when the bank balance is over. Whereas try to become Krishna conscious and go to the highest Golok Vrindavan, right? So and he says, don't become anadha. Like, the example, the definition of anadha he's giving is not depending on Krishna. That means you are anadha. There is no protector for you because there is nobody in this world that can protect you. Neither your parents, your siblings, your office people, nobody can protect you when things really go worse. The only protector that we all have is Lord Narayana, and if you don't take shelter of him, then we're all anadhas. Like, the definition of materialistic things for anadha is completely different than what we are hearing here, right? We have to take shelter of Lord Narayan or Lord Krishna here and become sanadhas, right? That's a prayer that Kunti is playing here. Let's go to the next sloka. 38. Rajesh, you can read 38.
Yeah. I'm reading from the screen.
Yeah. Sure.
As the name and fame of a particular body is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit, similarly, if you do not look upon us, all our fame and activities, along with the Pandavas and Yadus, will end at once. Kunti Devi is quite aware of the existence of the Pandavas is due to Krishna only, Sri Krishna only. Pandavas are undoubtedly well established in name and fame and are guided by the great king Yudhishthira, who is morally personified, and the Yadus are undoubtedly great allies, and without the guidance of Lord Krishna, all of them are non-entities. As much as senses of the body are useless without the guidance of consciousness. No one should be proud of his prestige, power and fame without being guided by the favor of Supreme Lord. The living beings are always dependent, and the ultimate dependable object is the Lord himself. We may therefore invent by our advancement of material knowledge all sorts of contracting material resources, but without being guided by the Lord, all such inventions end in fiasco. However strong and stout the reactionary elements may be.
So Queen Kunti is telling, without you, we are all lifeless bodies, right? Just like when the spirit goes away, body loses its luster. Similarly, if you go away, right? Both Pandavas and Yadus, we lose our, fame and activities, right? Because when when all of them will end at once, right? Because Krishna is the protector of both Pandavas and Yadus. He is the Yadu king, and they all Yadus came to fight along with Pandavas in the battlefield, right? Without the guidance of Lord Krishna, all of them are non-entities, as much as senses of the body are useless without the guidance of consciousness. So Queen Kunti is persuading Krishna in this way to stay back. Text 39. Samraji Mataji, you can read 39.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna. 39 Mataji.
39. Translation. 1 minute. Translation. O Gadadhara, our kingdom is now being marked by the impressions of your feet, and therefore it appears beautiful. But when you leave, it will no longer be so. Purport. There are certain particular marks on the feet of the Lord which distinguish the Lord from others. The marks of a flag, thunderbolt, and instrument to drive an elephant, umbrella, lotus, disc, etc. are on the bottom of the Lord's feet. These marks are impressed upon the soft dust of the land where the Lord transverses. The land of Hastinapura was thus marked while Lord Sri Krishna was there with the Pandavas, and the kingdom of Pandavas thus flourished by such auspicious signs. Kunti Devi pointed out these distinguished features and was afraid of ill luck in the absence of the Lord.
One point that Prabhupada is making is, whenever Lord descends into this earth in different forms, he is distinguished and recognized by particular signs. For example, if you go to any of the, if you say, for example, you go to Vrindavan, in front of the Lord Krishna and Balarama, their footprints will be there, where you take obeisances, and each of their footprints have symbols. For example, Lord Krishna's footprints on the foot, if you go look at the back of the foot, there is a flag, there is a thunderbolt, there is the instrument to drive the elephant, that mahoot, and then the umbrella, lotus, and disc are there, and they're properly marked on both on the left foot and the right foot. So Kunti Devi is saying, because of the mark, because when you walked on our land, our land is purified by the dust marks of your foot, and now if you are not there, it will be inauspicious. So she's kind of giving that more information about his footprints. Text 40, Samya Mataji. Soumya Mataji, can you read text 40? Hare Krishna, are you there? Yeah.
There's a lot of disturbance at my end.
So okay, Mataji, you can read. If there is disturbance, we can stop it. I don't hear any disturbance now.
Okay. All these cities and villages are flourishing in all respects because the herbs and grains are in abundance. The trees are full of fruits, the rivers are flowing, the hills are full of minerals, and the oceans full of wealth. And this is all due to your glancing over them. Purport. Human prosperity flourishes by natural gifts and not by gigantic industrial enterprises. The gigantic industrial enterprises are products of a godless civilization, and they cause the destruction of the noble aims of human life. The more we go on increasing such troublesome industries to squeeze out the vital energy of the human being, the more there will be unrest and dissatisfaction of the people in general, although a few only can live lavishly by exploitation. The natural gifts such as grains and vegetables, fruits, rivers, the hills of jewels and minerals, and the seas full of pearls are supplied by the order of the Supreme, and as he desires, material nature produces them in abundance or restricts them at times. The natural law is that the human being may take advantage of these godly gifts by nature and satisfactorily flourish on them without being captivated by the exploitive motive of lording it over material nature. The more we attempt to exploit material nature according to our whims of enjoyment, the more we shall become entrapped by the reactions of such exploitive attempts. If we have sufficient grains, fruits, vegetables, and herbs, then what's the necessity of running a slaughterhouse and killing poor animals? A man need not kill an animal if he has sufficient grains and vegetables to eat. The flow of river waters fertilizes the fields, and there is more than what we need. Minerals are produced in the hills and the jewels in the ocean. If the human civilization has sufficient grains, minerals, jewels, water, etc., then why should it hanker after terrible industrial enterprises at the cost of labor of some unfortunate men? But all these natural gifts are dependent on the mercy of the Lord. What we need, therefore, is to be obedient to the laws of the Lord and achieve the perfection of human life by devotional service. The indications by Kunti Devi are just to the point. She desires that God's mercy be bestowed upon them so that the natural prosperity be maintained by His grace.
So Kunti Devi is saying, because you are here in our presence, all our cities are flourishing in getting all the herbs, grains in abundance, trees full of fruits, rivers are full flowing. So that says when there is dharma prevailing and when there is Lord on the either two things. One, either when the Lord is here, with all of us, or when the Lord created dharma is flourishing, there is definitely no dearth of any abundance of natural, naturally available things, right? For like fruits, vegetables, minerals, grains, there will be full abundance. There won't be any drought. There is nothing like that if you follow His footsteps and you follow dharma. But the moment, there is no God, or there is no God consciousness, or there is no dharma prevailing, all of them will be gone. And that's what Kunti is saying, right? You are there with us and we are so flourishing. Now we are going away. I'm afraid that, we're going to lose all that. So Prabhupada is saying, in always in all his purports, he's going to write about the human evolution and also the industrial explosion. He's always, writing about it, how we exploited the nature by our industrial evolution, by greed, right? He says, if we all follow Vedic culture and Vedic, philosophy of living, the grains, the minerals, the jewels, the rivers, the rains, the agriculture that is available to us are sufficient to run a human life with nice dharma and God consciousness. And he says the industrial revolution that came really, kind of imbalanced things, and it's caused greed in corporates and really try to exploit. And he says God has given everybody for their need, but not for their greed. And slowly, because of that exploitance, we are making so many things imbalanced. The so-called calamities, the tsunamis, the hurricanes, and then cyclones, all are happening because of the imbalance, right? Human being has exploited the earth so much, right? We are being extracting the fuel, like it's like sucking from somebody's belly, right? We are kind of getting it extracted in so many places, and then extracting gold, extracting minerals like left, right, and center, utilizing it, really spoiling the environment, the balance and everything. And that time, what Krishna does is he gives enough powers to demigods, like he gives enough powers to earth to balance itself. That is when all these calamities happen, right? There is always also a purport in Bhagavatam, in Bhavishya Purana. It says, if there is a increase in population or overpopulation in a city, there will be some power given to the demigod to kind of balance it out, because there cannot be more than a certain number of population in a place. The population density increases and it cannot supply things to the population in that area. So there are things that happen by balancing out things happen, like all the calamities that are happening, the tsunamis and everything, is because that tries to balance out. You can see, right, from the time we got the wave 1, wave 2, how the streams, the rivers, and the agricultural fields have revived. Like the rains are in abundance last time. Ganga, Yamuna have become very clear from pollution. It's all the earth taking it back, and then taking control, because we all are we learned in Ishopanishad that we have to live in harmony. Isha Vasham Idam Sarvam. We have our own quota of things that are set aside by Lord, and we have to live in harmony with others, other beings, other naturally available things. But once we start lording over and when we start exploiting things, the Mother Earth and other demigods will take it into their control, because they have to balance out things. And things like this will happen for sure, and we have to bear the consequences of this, right? We are not the supreme enjoyers here. We are just, we have to live in harmony with others, and we have to eat and enjoy our own part. We cannot cross the line. I think that's what is more explained in this purport. We'll leave the last one. Ganala Mataji, you can read 41.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes.
Translation. O Lord of the universe, soul of the universe, O personality of the form of the universe, please therefore my tie of affection of my
Sever my ties. Sever my tie of affection. That is the word sever.
Sever my tie of affection for my kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. Purport. A pure devotee of the Lord is ashamed to ask anything in self-interest from the Lord, but the householders are sometimes obliged to ask favors from the Lord. Being bound by the tie of family affection, Srimati Kunti Devi was conscious of this fact, and therefore she prayed to the Lord to cut off the affectionate tie from her own kinsmen. The Pandavas and the Vrishnis. The Pandavas are her own sons, and the Vrishnis are the members of her paternal family. Krishna was equally related to both the families. Both the families required the Lord's help because both were dependent devotees of the Lord. Srimati Kunti Devi wished Sri Krishna to remain with her sons, the Pandavas, but by his doing so, her paternal house would be bereft of the benefit. All these partialities troubled the mind of Kunti, and therefore she desired to cut off the affectionate tie. A pure devotee cuts off the limited ties of affection for his family and widens his activities of devotional service for all forgotten souls. The typical example is the band of 6 Goswamis who followed the path of Lord Chaitanya. All of them belong to the most enlightened and cultural rich families of the higher caste, but for the benefit of mass of population, they left their comfortable homes and became mendicants. To cut off all family affection means to broaden the field of activities. Without doing this, no one can be qualified as the Brahmana, a king, a public leader, or a devotee of the Lord. The personality of Godhead as the ideal king showed by this example. Sri Ramachandra cut off the tie of affection for his beloved wife to manifest the qualities of an ideal king. Such personalities as a Brahmana, a devotee, a king, or a public leader must be very broad-minded in discharging their respective duties. Srimati Kunti Devi was conscious of the fact, and being weak, she prayed to be free from such bondage of family affection. The Lord is addressed as Lord of the universe or the Lord of universal mind, indicating his all-powerful ability to cut the hard knot of family affection. Therefore, it is sometimes experienced that the Lord, out of his special affinity towards a weak devotee, breaks the family affection by force of circumstances arranged by his all-powerful energy. By doing so, he causes the devotee to become completely dependent on him and thus clears the path for his going back to Godhead.
Hari Bol. So this is a very important shloka. Queen Kunti in this shloka is asking Lord Krishna to sever her ties with the family members, right? So because she is so pure devotional, she wants to exhibit the pure devotional service, and she completely wants to be in Krishna consciousness. She thinks the family ties are impeding her, right? She's asking Krishna to sever the ties because with both Pandavas and Vrishnis. Vrishnis are the Yadus, right? So she's asking to sever the ties. That's why if you see the one part of the Varnashrama Dharma is sannyasis. And what are sannyasis? Sannyasis are the people who don't have any ties. And why do they do that? The reason for that is so that they can spend more time in Krishna consciousness and then preaching that, because if say for example in a Grihastha life, there are so many things you have to do, right? You have to do a job to take care of your family. You have to spend time with your kids. You have to do a lot of things, but that is one part of the ashram. But after some time, even if you are in a Grihastha ashram, Srila Prabhupada says by 55, the age 55, you should be in a position where you should completely cut off the ties with your family. When you say cut off the ties, means don't indulge in the day-to-day activities. Don't hanker over when will my, say by the time maybe you gotten your kids married. Don't hanker over when will I see my, grandsons or granddaughters' marriage. When will I see all, their education. When will I, I want to go help them. Like those kind of things, we should just leave it. Now you have had your kids, you took care of them, you study, make them study, you give them good education, they're in their good job, they're settled down. Best thing for you is, be like a drop in the, on a leaf, on a lotus leaf. You be there, but you are not there, right? You go to Vrindavan, or maybe just in your own apartment, you're staying in the city, but having more ties with the temple. Maybe you are attending Mangalarti every day. You are helping in some service in the temple. Maybe you're taking care of the accounts. Maybe you're taking care of, if you're a Mataji, you're taking care of the Lord's garlands, right? Or their dresses, things like that. You're completely indulged in those activities. And yes, you are in touch with your family, but not completely involved and hankering over every day-to-day things. Similarly, Kunti Maharani is asking, sever my ties. I'm weak. I cannot sever my ties myself, right? That's what she's saying in the last paragraph. So you do that. So it's also told in some of the scriptures, if Lord is very merciful.
Prabhuji, a small doubt.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, if children are settled properly, then no problem to parents. If not settled properly, then definitely they will bother about their children, no? Even after their marriage also.
Yes, Mataji, that's true. But Mataji, until some point, right? For example, if they're kids, when they're studying and they're not studying properly, yes, you have to take care of them by putting tuitions and you worry about it. But after some time, Mataji, when they're grown up and they have their own mind to think through, and they have their own family, at that time, Mataji, you can support them by as much as possible, but it's left to them and how they want to really live their life. If they're not settled, do your part of supporting them. Supporting meaning, like if you want to materially support them, financially support them, by giving them property, do all that. But even after that, if they are struggling, then Mataji, it's like, we can't do much, right? Yes, how much ever you, then the laulyam should come into the picture, the greediness, right? You have, as a grihastha, as a parent, you have given everything to them, you have done everything to them. After that, you, at some point of time, you have to do this. Otherwise, you will be again in this karma bandhana, Mataji. You have to spend more time in Krishna consciousness as the age grows and as you grow up, right? You have to increase that that quota of yours, because after some time, after giving everything, it's up to them and how they want to go through the things. You can give salaha, you can give a suggestion, do this, do that, do like that, but don't get involved, indulged in every day-to-day activity, right? You can be there for them. You can be there for them, but you increase your quota of Krishna consciousness, and right, and then that's how the purport here is saying, right? So
okay, Prabhuji, thank you.
Yeah, just like that, Kunti Maharani is asking, I am weak, so please help me shiver the ties. I cannot do it myself. And in some places, it is also told that if Krishna is so merciful on you, that he really is seeing the sincerity in you, he will really do the severing of ties himself. And that comes in a very, very, in a way that you cannot take it. Like, he might take away everything from you. Like, for example, one day, you have a lot of things on your plate, and then you are really having good job, good house, good, family relations. Suddenly, things may start going one by one. Say, something happens and then your job is gone. Something happens, your properties are gone. And it happened, like, you could, in Bhagavatam, there is a story of Avanti Brahman. And Avanti Brahman, it so happens to him that suddenly he's in a good position, and slowly he starts losing all these things. And that is a special mercy of God. And of course, I don't want all of you to be the situation, but if it happens, that means you are at a very high level, advanced stage, and Krishna is really helping you to become directly and only depending on him. Right now, somehow or other, we have a little dependence on him, and we don't have a lot of dependence on him. And we still depend on our own ability of doing jobs and everything. We still, theoretically, we know, but practically our dependence on Lord is there, a little bit of it. But to make it a lot, Lord will bestow his benedictions on you in such a way that, it is told that he can take away everything that you have. And you become a beggar, you make a pauper. And that happened to Avanti Brahman, that is a story. And then there is no other way. There is no other way you cannot depend on anybody else. Like, you have complete dependence on Lord at that time. And he, gives complete benedictions on you, right? That also can happen, right? But that is very advanced level of devotee stage. So with that, any questions so far on the Bhagavatam we read so far? Because Kunti Maharaj's prayers are there. A few more slokas and we'll finish this chapter, and we'll go to the next one. But this is a very important chapter of Canto 1, and something to be really contemplated and remembered. Any other question? Any questions so far? Not, we'll do Narasimharti. I think today is the Kumari Mataji's turn, right, Kumari Mataji?
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to share the this thing.
Sir, Prabhuji, I am not expert. Please excuse me if I made any mistakes.
No problem, Mataji. Just do however. Sure you. Okay, let me see. Can you see the screen, Mataji?
Oh, okay, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Oh Narsimho, Bharato Narsimho.
Toya Toya Mitato Narsimho.
yato yato yato
Narsimho Hridaye Narsimho
Ahe Narsimha Udaye Narsimha
Narsimhamatim Sharanam Prapadye
Narasimha
Singhamadim Sharanam Prapadye.
Tava Karakamalaware Nakam Apta Sringam Dalita Hiranyashuku Tanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narhari Rupa Jaya Jagadish Hare Jagadish Hare Jagadish Hare
Tava Kamala Varena
Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa
Jai Jagadish Jai
Jai
Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare
Narsimhadev Narsimhadev
Jayo Narsimhadev Narsimhadev Jayo Narsimhadev
Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj
Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya
Prabhupada
Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev
Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Gurudev
Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Jai Narsimhadev.
Yeah, Vignanashaka Narasimha Bhagwan ki
Jai.
Prahlad Maharaj ki Great. Jai Om Vishnupada Param Prabhupada Prabhupada ki Jai Om Vishnupada Param Prabhupada Ashtotra Shatakarta Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से बोलो श्री चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्यामकुंड राधाकुंड गोवर्धन की जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर क्षेत्र की जय। पुरुषोत्तम धाम पुरी क्षेत्र की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। गंगे माई की जय। यमुने माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। तुलसी आरती की जय। All glories assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories assembled devotees Hare Krishna. All glories assembled Hare Krishna. All glories Sri Guru and Gauranga. Vancha kalpabhyascha kripa sindhubhyo eva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti vaishnav vrinda ki jai. Morning Aarti ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Transcendental book distribution ki jai. Transcendental Kadam distribution ki jai. Tagore Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Koti Vaishnav vrinda ki jai. All glories assembled devotees Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining today's class. Please forgive me if I made any mistakes. Anything that is good that came through is through because of the grace of senior Vaishnavas, my Siksha Gurus, Lilan Prabhuji and Anuradha Mataji, and other senior Vaishnavas, Prabhupada's grace. Anything else, all my mistakes are my own things. If there are any mistakes, like forgive yourself and made. Thank you very much for giving the opportunity to serve. Hare Krishna. We'll continue next week with the chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, and we'll try to finish with the Maharani's prayers in the next week. Hare Krishna. We'll see you on Saturday morning, 5 o'clock, with the congregational chanting and Bhagavatam class by another Bhakti Vriksha leader. We'll also do the Aarti next week. I'll remind you again. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare all Prabhuji's Mataji's.
Hare. Thank you. Thank you.